name's Linus. I'm probably, of all the things I do or whatever, I'm probably more commonly known as this guy who does barbecue in Itaewon, in the middle of Seoul. I was born in Los Angeles, but very soon after, I would say before my first birthday, my folks decided to move to Birmingham. Actually, they moved to Bessemer, which is a little bit outside of Birmingham. But everything I've ever known about my childhood and whatever, it's all Alabama. My identity, or at least my upbringing, has always been a kid from Birmingham, this Asian kid from Birmingham, you know. So, my dad, he lived in Los Angeles with his brothers and his cousins and whatever. They had just kind of immigrated from Korea. And then my father was like the middle of three brothers. They had a whole bunch of sisters and a big family, but of the three brothers, the eldest decided he wanted to start a business because at that time, in the 70s or late 60s, early 70s, a whole bunch of Korean people were in the wig business, the natural human hair wig business. It was just a very common thing to do, and he just kind of got in a car and he just drove out east from LA, and he was looking for a city he could settle down and build a business where there were like no other Korean people doing a wig business. But it was really weird. There was always somebody who was already set up in the late 60s and 70s. So he was just getting kind of discouraged. He kept going. He made his way all the way to Birmingham, Alabama. And guess what? There was already somebody doing it in the middle of Birmingham, Alabama. He goes like 20, 30 minutes outside of Birmingham to a place called Bessemer, little town. He decides to open up shop there. And oddly enough, it's thriving. It's more than thriving. Nothing fancy, but it's just making money. But he decides, I don't want to be here anymore. This is my uncle. He calls up my dad and says, hey, why don't you come over and take over this business? It's pretty much all set up. And it's just turnkey, why don't you come out? I think my mom just jumped on it. She was just like, oh, let's go, right? Also, as like American as I was, I so badly wanted to experience Korea, and I just felt like I was so far away from that. I just wanted a taste. The taste became 10 years, but I don't know. It just kind of snowballed into this, you know? The irony is that the further I got away from Alabama, my hometown, and now I've just make a living from that. I brought Alabama with me in a way. I remember when I was younger, I was just so ready to kind of like let it go. You know, I wanted to experience bigger cities and cool people and interesting minds and whatever. And, you know, but it seems like what I have to offer is just, and things I gravitate, what I know is just what I know. You know, I miss the food. No matter how far away I went, I was like still looking for barbecue. And that familiarity is what, like, although I thought it was like meeting other people like me or looked like me, familiarity is still the South. And that became the food. And at that moment, a friend of mine had just moved to Korea. She'd been here for like maybe 8 months. And she said, Linus, why don't you come over here and help me? She knew she wanted to work in food. And I was like, yeah, I like this. And, you know, like, see if we can make a series or a show or something like that. I was like, yeah, I'm down. 3 months. And I brought my spices with me. Just my rubs and whatever. And surely enough, I found a way to make an excuse to make barbecue. And we were shooting it, and it was like an event. We invited a bunch of foreigners and Koreans, and the foreigners had my pulled pork. And, you know, the Americans are just, this is great. And the Koreans, this was really weird. The Koreans were like, what kind of meat is this? They didn't know it was pork or beef. Because, you know, then I explained like, well, it's pork, but I've been cooking it for like 16 hours. Like, why? You know, everything's like, bali, 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 you know. Why would you do that? It's like, well, you have to do that. So you break down the tissue, blah, 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 blah. You know, it just makes it soft. And so I felt like I was onto something. I was like, and I was looking for a reason to stay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick around a little longer and see if I can pull this off. I just have to survive. I don't know, just all these little odd end jobs to stick around. And then I hear about pop-ups. What's that? And I might be able to do that, but I don't think I could like do it every day. Like it's such a labor-intensive thing to do, barbecue. You're just staying up all night. I didn't sleep for days before an event. And so I go to every single bar in my neighborhood, trying to tell them, hey, can I just set up shop here for a day? And then I'll sell my stuff and whatever. And they're like, why don't you just rent the place? I was like, I can't. How about I just sell my food and they'll buy your drinks? And so to go back, I had a little experience in promoting parties and things like that when I was in university and whatever. So I was kind of thinking that way, like, I'll just bring everybody and you'll make money too. And I had this one guy, after just hounding them for a little while, they agreed to do it. And I go there, and I remember on Facebook, the day before, there was like 800 people that replied and said they were coming. I was like, get out of here, right? And I show up and like a line starts forming and then it just starts to go up the block. I'm like an hour and a half late to start and we sell out instantly. Like that was exhausting, but it was really, really fun. And it's a lot more fun than selling in the restaurant. So I was like, how about I just start doing this? So that started this whole series of pop-ups that I did for almost 3 years, like 2.5 years. And every single time I was thinking, a lot of people came to the last one and we sold out, but they're tired of me. No one's gonna come to the next one. I did that every single time. I felt that. I was just like, no one's gonna come this time. I'm old news. It's not new anymore. It just kept growing. It was just bizarre. And then I got tired of doing this pulled pork sandwich. That's all I ever did. And it's time I got to learn more. Well, I decided I had to borrow money. Still wasn't making very much money. I had to borrow money to buy a plane ticket to go back to the States. And I still had an apartment in LA. And what did I do? I planned this big tour. I was going to go to LA, check up on things, go to Alabama, and then borrow one of my parents' cars, and then go seek out other barbecue restaurants and try to find mentors and get certified as a barbecue judge and big plans and everything with no money. And so it was just really wild. I would do a pop-up in LA, and it would be sold out too. Like at that time, something new called Eater came up, and I got written up in that, and they just stormed this like liquor store I opened up at. And then it's like really wild. I ended up doing like 3 of those and like making enough money to buy my plane ticket back. Like that's how like hand to mouth it was, really touch and go. I would fly to Birmingham, and I didn't have enough money to stay in a hotel every night. So I knew I would sleep in the car. I would pack and I would set blankets and I would go from town to town, and I would sleep in the car some places. I would get in a motel some places. But I would go to these like famous barbecue restaurants and I would talk to people, and they were just so kind. They were just so open to show me things and teach me things. And they would always introduce me to the next place I should go because I was moving from town to town. It was like they'll call them up or send a message and say, hey, this guy's coming by. He's from Korea. I ended up in a town called Batesville in Arkansas to learn how to be a barbecue judge. That was like my big thing. If I can do this, then it will make my barbecue better. But these guys were really deep into the competitive barbecue scene. They said, Linus, you should come to Memphis in May with us. It's like next month. And I got to go back to Korea. It's like, I don't think you want to do that. I think you want to, this is like a once in a lifetime kind of chance. And I didn't really know much about the competitive barbecue industry. So it turns out Memphis in May is also known as the Super Bowl of Swine. And, we do pretty good. We do pretty well. I was just doing that for a couple of years, the pop-ups competitions whenever I could. And we finally opened. And then from the time I opened is like another thing. Because doing business in Korea, boy, is it, like there's some things that are really quite easy compared to the States and some things that are really quite hard. Language is a big part of it. Culture is a big part of it. People, no matter what culture they're from, That's a big part of it too. It's a shame. My Korean is not very good. I've lived here for 10 years. It's just shameful how bad it is. I try now. I make a little bit more of an effort, and I intend to make a more of an effort because it leaves me like somewhat lonely again. Very poor on my part, being rather dismissive of that, or just saying that I've been too busy, and I should make that effort. And I am. And the little effort that I've made, what a difference it makes. Because that's what I've been missing, is like connecting with people, and not just English speakers. Like your pool just went down to something really small again, and that's just so sad, you know. So yeah, I don't know. That's definitely a bucket list, or whatever you call it, a resolution I have made and will make. My name is Linus Kim, and this is my Korean American story.